Alright, so today's video is about neutrality and how neutrality is actually the highest, one of the highest, if not the highest vibration that there is. And I want to start off with an analogy from physics. So with physics, you have an atom, and if you've seen an atom before, it's like, a cluster of little balls with the ones flowing around the outside, and the ones around the outside are electrons. They're negatively charged, and in the middle is positively charged protons. And since things that are negative and positive, they attract to each other, just like opposites attract, and things that, two positive things want to run away from each other. And so in the middle of an atom is protons and neutrons, and the reason why the protons aren't running away from each other in the middle is because of the neutrons. So if you think about it like this, that neutrons are the reason why all of our atoms aren't just exploding right now, because basically to create nuclear energy, you shoot a particle at the middle of that nucleus, the protons and neutrons. You shoot a particle at that, separate the protons from the neutrons, and then the protons want to run away from each other, and it creates this big burst of energy using the strong force. And so basically the analogy here is that it's the neutrality of the neutrons which stop us from essentially self-destructing and blowing up, and all of our atoms from just being ripped in half. And in the same way, it's the neutrality that actually saves us from self-destructing in an emotional sense. And so I think we've all heard the saying, feeling is healing, and that's nothing new, but I think something that people don't talk about enough is the fact that if you try and just feel your emotions, you can end up in a loop where all you end up doing is bringing up the emotions, and then you just end up reacting to them in an infinite loop. And when you react, you're not being neutral, so you're kind of like, it's like perpetuating the wheel of karma. You're just jumping back into the karma, and it plays out infinitely. But what you really need to do is to become neutral towards the feelings and then feel them out, and then this way you can exit the wheel of karma, and you can get past those emotions once and for all, which is awesome. So how do we actually use this information to better our lives? It's basically, you start off by identifying your whether you're having trouble with disruptive thoughts, overthinking, or if it's just a negative emotion. So overthinking is usually caused by a negative emotion, but in order to actually locate the emotion, you sort of think the thoughts, and then you want to just become aware of what feelings that brings up in your body. However, if you're just going through something like heartbreak or something like that, it may just be a straight up feeling, and that's good. You've located the feeling. So in order to reach a peaceful state, the only way out is in, and in meaning by actually feeling these things, but feeling them from a state of neutrality. And so how do we actually enter this state of neutrality? So you enter a relaxed state where it's sort of like meditation, pretty much exactly. But first you want to locate the feeling. So it's a thought, think the thought, let the thought think itself, and then feel the emotion that comes up from that, or just locate the painful emotion and feel that first. And now while you're aware of that, you actually want to lay down or sit in a meditative posture, and then start to become aware of the space around you, almost like you're in a bubble. And you'll start to become aware of the space around you, and you'll notice that the opposite of neutrality is kind of like attachment. And so you can really visualize this as like, here are the thoughts outside in your bubble, and there are hands or cords being attached to these thoughts and reacting to them. And now when you feel this space around you, you can just visualize that you're letting go of those attachments, like in a visual sense. You're letting go and you're relaxing. And this state, you'll start to notice, and it's kind of something you have to feel for yourself, but you'll start to feel this state of neutrality. And neutrality is also, by definition, not reacting to these thoughts. So you're allowing these thoughts to pop up, which then bring up an emotion, but then you're not reacting to that. And that's really the key. But through the visual exercise and feeling the actual space around you, you can sort of, you start to pick up on that feeling of neutrality, and you'll know it when you feel it. It's hard to explain, but you'll know it when you feel it, and then you just start to magnify and feel into the space around you and magnify that feeling. In the same way as in some of my other videos, I've talked about feeling inside the body to, feel inside the heart. To actually disengage and become neutral, we feel outside the body, in the space around us. You can even go as far as feeling the walls around you, but that's sort of more complex. So yeah, by feeling the space around you, you'll start to hone into this feeling of neutrality, and it will feel really good. And then you'll start to bring your focus back to these emotions, and you'll notice that you won't be bothered by these emotions. You'll actually start to feel through, and there will be an end to it, rather than trying to feel and just being stuck forever and feeling it forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. It never goes away. And one last analogy is kind of like if you're floating on a river, like you're on a raft maybe, or you're just on your back floating down a river, and there's rocks, and to try and feel through your emotions without neutrality would kind of be like holding onto the rocks, or being stuck on the rocks and looking at them the whole time, rather than just surrendering to the flow of the river and letting it take you around the rocks and just keep going and keep flowing. And so things like candles or being around running water, like a river or something, can actually really help. If you just sit there and stare at the candle or stare at the flowing water, it can actually help you hone in on this feeling of neutrality. But yeah, basically the visualization of letting go of the attachments and relaxing physically and feeling the space around you is enough to enter a state of neutrality. And once you feel it, you'll know, and you'll be able to start to ramp up that feeling of neutrality and start to use it in even other places in your everyday life and even your meditations and everything, and it feels really good. And so yeah, neutrality is basically what's holding this entire world together. So yeah, you can create anything that you want from neutrality. So I hope this helps, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.